Humphrey Bogart should have been the sixth person on this film with a screenwriting credit, because that bizarre and alarmingly chauvinistic dialogue about women coming capsule-sized and fitting in a man's pocket, that was all Bogart. This whole passage was something the actor was known to espouse when he was a few sheets to the wind, and I guess he decided it was time to immortalize it on film. Let's duly note that it wasn't delivered to Lauren Bacall, who I imagine would have had a response a bit more vehement than what Liz Scott musters. In case anyone doubts the influence and popularity of the Maltese Falcon, realize that 6 years after that film's release, Bogart was still playing some variation of Sam Spade, especially when it came to explaining the rules of a man's world to possibly duplicitous dames.
Rip, can't we put this behind us? Can't you forget?
The trouble is I can't forget that I might die tomorrow. Suppose you got sore at me some morning for leaving the top off the toothpaste tube.
Don't you love me?
Morris Karnofsky, who played the role of Martinelli, began his acting career on Broadway in 1922. By 1931, he was one of the founding members of the influential Group Theater, a collective dedicated to creating socially conscious and politically charged dramas that challenged the status quo, both in the content of its plays and its upending of the Broadway hierarchy. Karnofsky was a major figure in the group and appeared in practically all its productions. By the end of the 1930s, many of the group's mainstays had headed to Hollywood, looking to make easy money in the movies, money that was necessary to keep the group theater afloat. But once it sunk in 1940, many of the group's leading figures, writer Clifford Odets, director Elia Kazan, and actors John Garfield, Lee J. Cobb, Harry Morgan, Luther Adler, Howard Da Silva, and many others, headed to Hollywood to find permanent work. Karnofsky made 18 films during the 1940s and early 50s until he was blacklisted after being named as a member of the Communist Party by Kazan and actors Sterling Hayden and Mark Lawrence. Although his film work was snuffed out, Karnofsky returned to the stage, which had no blacklist, where he began another phase of his career as a Shakespearean actor, where he enjoyed using his method acting techniques to bring new life to those classic texts. Karnofsky was also the uncle of veteran actor James Caron, a fixture at the TCM Classic Film Festival and on our cruises, until his passing last year at 94 years of age. As for Wallace Ford, who played McGee in today's film, what a life story this guy had. He was born in Lancashire, England, as Samuel Jones Grundy, and was put up for adoption at the age of 3 by his impoverished family. He was then shipped off to Manitoba as part of a British plan to help repopulate the desolate Canadian territory. At 11, he ran away from his latest foster home, literally to join a traveling carnival. By 1914, he decided the grass had to be greener in the United States, and he and his best pal decided to hobo it on freight trains headed south in search of a better life. His friend was killed under the wheels of one of those trains, and once Sam Grundy started getting steady work in vaudeville, he borrowed the name of his late hobo pal, Wallace Ford, as his stage name. From the 20s through the 50s, Ford maintained prolific careers on Broadway, in movies, and on television. He left an indelible impression in film noir, playing both sympathetic and sleazy characters in such films as Black Angel, Crack Up, T-Men, The Breaking Point, The Setup, and He Ran All the Way. That's it for this Memorial Day edition of Noir Alley. As always, check in with us on the Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed, and make plans to be here again next week, when I'll present what many people consider to be the greatest heist film ever made, The Asphalt Jungle. Until then, keep the motor running and the headlights on. Geronimo!